Review Commission meeting for February 19th, 2026. Before we begin, are there any changes to the agenda needed? Nope. Okay. This is also, want to give a reminder to make sure your microphones are turned on while speaking. Will staff please call the roll?
Chair Lindstrom?
Present.
Vice Chair Mino?
Present.
Commissioner Sangri?
Present.
Commissioner Leek?
Present.
Commissioner Salunke?
Present.
Commissioner Bates is absent, and Commissioner Dews possibly is running late.
Thank you. Now on to item number 3, on to the minutes for February 2nd, 2026. Are there any notable changes needed to those minutes?
I make a motion that we pass the minutes of February 2nd.
I'll second that motion.
Staff, please call the roll.
Chair Lindstrom?
Aye.
Vice Chair Mino?
Yes.
Commissioner Salunke?
Recused.
Commissioner Leek?
Yes.
Commissioner Sangri?
Yes.
4-0.
Thank you. I'd now like to open the public hearing for LU 25-0019. This is a request for approval of an 11-lot subdivision with a planned development overlay. A modification to an approved development review permit LU 050076 and removal of 27 trees for construction of public improvements. The commission continued the hearing on this application to Thursday, February 19, 2026 at 7 p.m. to allow additional written evidence or testimony only. The site is located at 17979 Southwest Stafford. The staff coordinator is Evan Fransted, senior planner. I'd like to invite staff to give their report.
Thank you, Chair Lindstrom and members of the Commission. As the Chair mentioned, this is a continued hearing from January 22nd for written testimony only. So new evidence was due by January 29th at 5 p.m. We received 2 comments. Those are Exhibit G1 and Exhibit G2. Those are neither for nor against. Following, we received applicant's rebuttal on February 5th. That is Exhibit F18. Staff reviewed the rebuttal, and it only includes rebuttal statements to the evidence submitted, doesn't include any new evidence submitted, so it's recommended that it's acceptable and should be entered into the record. And on my staff memo that was sent out last Friday on February 13th, we detail all the issues that were raised and provide staff response under each of the issues. I'd be happy to answer any questions you have about the memo in general, but in conclusion, staff recommends approval of the application with the revised conditions that were stated in the memo from January 22nd. But that's the end of my summary of what's happened since the first hearing. Be happy to answer any questions at this time.
You have noted in this report and also in the ones that we got before that the Clackamas County has responsibility for traffic on Stafford Road, and that Clackamas County did concur with both their consultant's recommendation and your support. Do you have a date roughly when you last talked to Clackamas County about this? And is it post their work on the roundabout and Stafford Road updates?
Yeah, let me pull up their comments.
I don't need an exact date, you know, this year, 3 years ago, that kind of thing.
I can probably give you an exact date. Or maybe Will can come up here and talk about, Will Farley is our traffic engineer.
Yes.
Yeah, Will Farley, Assistant City Engineer and Traffic Engineer for the city. The last correspondence I had was with Christian Snuffin with Clackamas County. He does their development review. It was on December 2nd of 25. So it was after the submittal of the traffic study and preparing the first staff report.
So it is essentially present time. Thank you.
The Clackamas County was also forwarded the public comments and the rebuttal from the applicant, so they were aware of these more recent issues raised.
Any more questions? Attorney Miller, I do apologize. I think I jumped ahead of, jumped the gun on inviting the staff report. I don't know if there was any memos you were supposed to read prior to.
Yes, I guess we could do updated declarations if anything has changed. And then, so we can go ahead and do those declarations, and then after that, the council or the commission would just deliberate.
Start.
Sure.
My name is Dwight Sangre. I'm a retired civil engineer, and I have no bias related to this project. I've had no ex parte discussions with any of the parties regarding this, and have no financial or professional interest in the project.
My name is Larry Lindstrom. I'm a project executive in construction. I have not visited the site. I have no ex parte communications with the clients. I do not know the parties involved. I do not have a financial interest or conflict of interest in this case, and I do not have a bias.
My name is Yuko Mino. I'm an architect. I know of the site, but have not gone there in relation to this project. I do not know the parties involved, nor have I had any ex parte communication. I do not have a financial interest or a conflict of interest in this case. I do not have a bias.
I'm Helen Leake. I'm a realtor. I have been to the site. I know very well where it is. I've had no ex parte communications with the parties involved. I do not know the parties involved. I do not have a financial interest nor a conflict of interest in the case, and I have no bias.
Hi, I'm Meeta Saronke. I'm a professional landscape architect, and I have recused myself from this hearing.
Thank you. And then we'll do any challenges to the commissioners' declarations. Hearing none. Any online? Thank you.
Thank you. Public hearing for LU 25-0019 is now closed, and we will now begin deliberations.
I understand there are traffic studies, and they check little boxes off. And then there is common sense. And this is a growing area, particularly if Rosemont ever, and it probably will, get developed. So trying to stave off traffic complications ahead of the curve than going back and doing it, I think is a more important idea. And I agree with the right-hand turn coming out of the project. Turn right, no left-hand turn, and you go around the roundabout, and then you can head towards Lake Oswego. I think it's a prudent idea with foresight, regardless of what traffic studies say.
Any other comments? Someone make a motion?
I would say if you make a motion with an additional condition of approval, you do need to allow the applicant time to respond to that here at the podium, or correct? Yeah, so if you are imposing a new condition of approval, then the applicant does have a chance to rebut that or refute that, provide testimony to that. So I guess the next step is what is the motion you're going to make and whether or not you're including that condition of approval for a right turn only out of the site onto Stafford. And then we can figure out from there.
Thank you. I guess I make a motion that we approve LU 25-0019 with the condition that there's only a right-hand turn coming out of the subdivision onto Stafford Road.
And I second that motion.
Then just for clarity, Commissioners, that would be including all the conditions of approval as amended in staff's January 22nd, 2026 memorandum as well. Okay, thank you.
So, sorry, before there is a vote, because you are imposing a condition of approval, I believe we need to allow the applicant time to respond to that. If there's someone from the applicant's team that would like to come up and respond to that.
Please introduce yourself.
Yes, my name is Patrick Espinosa. I'm the principal civil engineer with Pacific Community Design. My address for the record, 12564 Southwest Main Street, Tigard. I guess I'm unfortunately not the traffic engineer. We're trying to see if he's available tonight to respond directly to the condition of approval. I understand the commissioner's concerns and the residents' concerns. My general concern with the condition being applied to this project is our inability to ensure that we can get that particular traffic control measure approved by Clackamas County, since there isn't a traffic report that provides evidence that that particular measure is warranted. We would have to rely on the Clackamas County engineers to approve something that's not currently in the traffic report or has been agreed to by their staff.
Can I ask staff, is that something that Clackamas County would have issue with?
Based on the facts in the record, the county probably would not support the addition of restricting the road to right out. It adds extra requirements such as medians and pork chops to keep traffic from going that direction. So it's an additional requirement for the right-of-way. There's no concern raised by the traffic study, the crash history. We have a access that operates very similarly to the north at Lorac, which handles more traffic than this one would. So the evidence doesn't support restrictions to movement.
Are you referring to the intersection with Burgess?
No, the intersection of the new aquatic center onto Stafford, where they have developed a left turn lane into the site, provided enough room for people to turn left out of the site and have refuge from traffic. Additionally, Overlook Drive at Stafford is a traffic signal which platoons traffic in that direction. So there will be plenty of opportunities for gaps as shown in the traffic analysis provided by the applicant.
Would there be a refuge site in this left-hand turn?
There will be a left turn refuge that it comes with the development of the left turn lane.
Okay, I didn't understand that. I thought it was just 2 lanes and you're turning one way or the other.
The county and the city have conditioned to construct a left turn lane into the site. That left turn lane will have to either taper back before another left turn lane's developed, which there's not sufficient distance. So there will likely be continued a refuge in the center, a 3-lane cross-section for drivers to enter and wait for a gap in the northbound traffic.
And what about people turning into the site coming from Lake Oswego direction?
They will have just a right turn into the site.
They'll just have the right turn into the
Yes.
site.
Now, this does not preclude people that if they're uncomfortable making that left turn, they can easily go down to the roundabout. They have that option.
Okay, I didn't recognize that, so I withdraw my motion.
If you withdraw your condition that when it's added, I will second your motion.
Okay, I approve LU 250019 without the new condition to make it a right-hand turn only, exiting the project.
And
I'll second that.
Sorry, just amend it, go back to what Attorney Miller said and amending the conditions as previously.
Yes, that.
Yeah.
Okay, so staff, please call the vote.
Chair Lindstrom,
Yes.
Vice Chair Mino,
Yes.
Commissioner Salunke,
Recused.
Commissioner Leek,
Yes.
Commissioner Sangri.
Yes.
4-0.
Okay. The motion has received a majority vote. I'd like to note that this is a tentative decision, and the final decision will be made upon the adoption of written findings. And written findings will occur.
We'll come back for written findings on March 2nd.
Okay, thank you. So moving on here. I'd now like to open the hearing for LU 260001, a request for approval of a major variance to garage location standards in order to construct a front-loading carport on an existing non-conforming dwelling. No tree removal is proposed. The site is located at 2626 Park Road. Staff coordinator is Courtney Sims, associate planner.
Thank you, Chair Lindstrom. So the following procedure for public hearings on development applications has been adopted by the City of Lake Oswego pursuant to LOC Chapter 50.07 and ORS 197-763. Applicants and interested persons are encouraged to familiarize themselves with these procedures to assist in presenting testimony to the Commission. A land use request involves the application of the criteria and standards listed in the staff report, which is available from staff 10 days prior to the initial evidentiary hearing. Testimony and evidence must be directed towards those applicable criteria or other such criteria contained within the Lake Oswego Comprehensive Plan and land use regulations that you believe apply to this decision. Failure to raise an issue accompanied by statements or evidence sufficient to afford everyone an opportunity to respond precludes appeal to the City Council and the Oregon Land Use Board of Appeals, or LUBA, on that issue. The failure of the applicant to raise constitutional or other issues related to proposed conditions of approval with sufficient specificity to allow the Commission to respond precludes an action for damages in circuit court. So now we'll do the Commissioner's declarations for this hearing.
Well, I'll start it off again. My name is Dwight Sangre. I'm a retired civil engineer. I am familiar with the site. I have not visited it. I have no knowledge of any of the parties that I've seen involved in this. I have had no ex parte discussion with anyone regarding this. I have no financial or professional interest in this, and I do not think I have any bias.
My name is Larry Lindstrom. I'm a construction executive. I have not visited the site. I've had no ex parte communications with the client or with the applicant. I do not know the parties involved. I do not have a financial interest or conflict of interest in this case, and I do not have a bias.
My name's Yuko Mino. I'm an architect. I know of the site, but have not gone to the site in relation to this project. I do not know the parties involved, nor have I had any ex parte communication. I do not have a financial interest or a conflict of interest in this case. I do not have a bias.
I'm Helen Leek. I'm a realtor. I have not visited the site. I know approximately where it is. I do not know the parties involved. I've had no ex parte communication. I have no financial interest nor a conflict of interest in the case, and I do not have a bias.
I'm Mita Salonke. I'm a landscape architect. I have not visited the site. I have not had any ex parte communication, nor do I know the parties involved. I do not have any financial or conflict of interest, nor do I have any bias to declare.
Thank you. And now I would invite challenges from the audience or anyone online as to the commissioner's declarations. See none? All right, moving on, the hearing will proceed as follows. We'll have staff's presentation first, after which staff may answer questions regarding their presentation on the application, and then applicant's testimony. Third will be public testimony. Fourth, rebuttal by the applicant, and then the commission's deliberations and decision. And the commissioners are reminded to save comments, opinions, and debate for the deliberations portion of the hearing. And I will further outline the public testimony process when we get to that step.
Thank you. I'd like to invite staff to give their presentation to the commission.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Courtney Sims. I'm an Associate Planner with the city. The case before you tonight is a request for a major variance to expand an existing non-conforming one-car carport to fit 2 cars. This is a major variance to the garage appearance and location standards. The site is located at 2626 Park Road in the Palisades Neighborhood Association. It's zoned R10, and the original house was built in 1962. There is an existing non-conforming front-loading one-car carport on the site, shown in the photo on the left. The applicant's proposal would expand the existing carport to a 2-car carport in the same general location, which is shown in the rendering on the right. Lake Oswego's garage appearance and location standards generally prohibit front-loading carports to be located in front of habitable space, though, so that's the reason for the major variance request tonight. The proposed carport meets all applicable setbacks and other dimensional standards, except for being located in front of the rest of the dwelling. The criteria to review a major variance request starts with the question of whether there is an unnecessary hardship preventing reasonable use of the property. Past variance approvals and longstanding interpretation by the city holds that a 2-car garage and carport is a reasonable expectation for a single-family dwelling. So there is a hardship of not being able to have 2 covered parking spaces on the site. Next, we look at whether the hardship is unnecessary based on considerations in the code. The first consideration is the physical circumstances of the site. In this case, the physical circumstance is the extreme site topography and the layout. The existing carport is already located in front of the house at the top of a steep driveway, while the house is at an angle. I think I have it at the next slide. Thank you. Is at an angle, the building footprint does not technically meet the angle required to be side-loading carport, which would be exempt and be allowed in front of habitable space. So while the carport appears mostly side-loading from the street, it's not technically side-loading, and so it has to be behind habitable space. To widen the carport in any way to feasibly fit 2 cars next to one another would require an expansion in front of the house towards the street. Essentially, because the existing house and where the carport and driveway are located at the top of the hill, there isn't anywhere you could fit a 2-car carport that wouldn't require a variance. We see this when we look at alternatives that would meet the garage appearance and location standards. The first appearance is one to have an actually side-loading carport that is closer to the street, shown in blue. This alternative would need to encroach in the front yard setback in order to reasonably meet the dimensional standards for a 2-car carport. The other alternative, shown in red, would be a carport set further back from the street than habitable space. And to meet the size requirements there, the carport would encroach in the side setback. So there's no alternative that meets the garage appearance and location standards and doesn't also require a variance to setbacks in that instance. Staff agrees that the site layout and topography are a physical circumstance of the site. The hardship was also not self-created, since the existing structure was built in the 60s, long before the garage appearance and location standards were created in the 2000s. Staff finds that the unnecessary hardship criterion is met. The next criterion looks at whether the request would be materially injurious to the neighborhood. As the map shows here, front-loading carports and garages located in front of habitable spaces are very common in this neighborhood. Additionally, the applicant provided renderings showing the carport would be located in the same general footprint as the existing carport, be fairly hidden from the street based off of the topography, and not require excessive grading or tree removal. The carport is also disguised partially as a second-story deck, as shown in these renderings, which further minimizes impacts when viewed from adjacent properties. I'll note that the only public comment received was in support. Staff finds that this criterion is met. The last criterion requires that the major variance request is the minimum variance necessary to alleviate the hardship established in the first criterion. The proposed carport addition is typical to carport dimensions, about 24 feet deep and 20 feet wide. It complies fully with all dimensional and design standards except for the garage location standard. Staff finds that the requested variance to widen the carport in the same general location as the existing carport is the minimum variance necessary to make reasonable use of the property. All three criteria are met, so staff recommends approval. I'm available for any questions.
Thank you. Commissioners have any questions? No questions. Thank you. Now I'd like to request the applicant's testimony. I do want to let you know that you have up to 20 minutes, not including questions from the commission. Please note that the green light means time is active, yellow light means 30 seconds, a red light means time is up, and flashing red is over the limit. Attorney Miller?
Thank you, Chair Lindstrom. Would you like me to outline the public testimony
Yes,
process
please.
at this time? Okay. So the order of testimony after applicant's presentation will be parties in support, parties opposed, and parties neither in favor nor opposed. Individuals will be allowed up to 5 minutes. Groups and neighborhood associations will be allowed up to 10 minutes, and these limits do not include questions from the commission. Testimony by attorneys, representatives, and witnesses on behalf of or part of anyone's testimony is counted within that time limit. And any persons in attendance may cede their time for testimony to another, but in no case shall any one speaker's testimony exceed 10 minutes. And all testimony, evidence, and comments during the public testimony portion should be directed to the chair.
Thank you. Please introduce yourself and you can begin.
Sure, thank you. Good evening. My name is Paul Soper, and I'm appearing to you tonight as the homeowner, the applicant, and the architect. So a few hats I'm wearing this evening. Before we dive in, I do want to extend my sincere thanks to the planning staff, and specifically Courtney Sims for her guidance and for the recommendation of approval in the staff report. I'm fortunate to know a little bit about the history of this house, so I'd like to share that with you now. It was built in 1962 by Herb Ostroff, who was a New York native, and after World War II, moved to Lake Oswego with his wife Ella to take a job with the Department of Housing and Urban Development. Herb himself was an architect and designed the house for his growing family. Herb loved Frank Lloyd Wright, and so in designing this house, he blended the post and beam style of the era with many of Wright's principles present in his domestic architecture. A small compressed entry, hearth at the center of the home, and then living spaces that open up to views of nature. Because of how the house is angled on the lot, it has a unique relationship to the landscape that we would like to preserve. Now to the carport and why we're here for the variance, it essentially comes down to geometry. Because the house sits at that 52-degree angle to Park Road, it doesn't meet the city's 80-degree side loading definition. And there's also the issue of topography. The site climbs some 15 feet from the street to the main level, living level, and the backyard. And so between the angle of the house and the steep slope, there really isn't anywhere else to put the garage or carport without creating additional setback violations or significantly altering the site, as staff has rightly noted in their report. So our solution is the only practical one. We are keeping the carport exactly where it is, but expanding it to accommodate 2 cars. And you can see here the extents here marked by the thick dash line and the new carports by the double line. As this variance is part of a holistic renovation aimed at making this 1960s home work for our family, you'll see areas shaded solid gray where we are strategically expanding the home's footprint. So let's look at how all of this works in context. These views are from the east as you approach on Park Road. Existing is on the left and proposed is on the right. And if you look closely, you'll see there's a bit of a structural quirk in the original design. Half of the living room is actually suspended over the carport. And this might look cool, but it's a bit of a structural nightmare. There's virtually no lateral resistance in the case of a seismic event. So we are bringing the walls out to meet the living room, which does push the carport forward towards the street just a little bit. We aren't just gaining space, though. We are creating this lateral stability. So new footings and properly braced walls will ensure that in a major earthquake, the living room wouldn't shear off and collapse. The next slide here shows the approach from the west. And again, the existing is on the left and proposed is on the right. And what you can see here is how the carport and living room step back and recede from the street. Now, I could, by right and without a variance, build the dwelling space out over the carport, but that would create a bit of an awkward bulk that would loom over the street. And quite honestly, it would look out of place. So by expanding only the carport, the structure maintains its step back, following the slope of the land and better respecting the visual scale of our neighbors' homes. Our house is over 60 years old and in need of updates. The systems and the envelope are dated, and the carport is at the end of its life. But what doesn't need to change about the house is its character. My wife and I are raising 2 boys here, and we love the house's provenance, its history, and we only want to strengthen it. So we're asking the variance to help stabilize and modernize this home so it can stand for another 60 years. And with that, I thank you for your time.
Well, thank you. Commissioners have any questions?
A comment, if I may. As an architect, landscape architect, the perspective shared here, it pleases me to see the entryway, the grades that are addressed by the entryway treatment is very sensitive. So that's very nice.
No other comments? Thank you for your presentation. Do we have anybody signed up for public testimony? Okay. I have no further questions. If you want to go ahead and take a seat back in the audience there. Thank you. Okay, with that being said, suppose I can close the hearing, correct? Yeah, so, what's that? Yeah, so the public hearing for LU 260001 is now closed, and we will now move to deliberations.
Want the continued hearing?
Excuse me?
We do need to offer, we don't have any public testimony, but I believe we do need to offer the opportunity to continue the hearing, at least. Leave the written record open or continue it, and then we can go to deliberations.
Okay.
I believe that's available to anyone who participated before, and no one has participated. There was, although you're correct that there was one person who commented in support of the application, so perhaps if that person wanted to continue the record to add additional support, my guess is that they don't, but if they are here and they would like to leave the record open.
And then I think we also need to offer the applicant the opportunity for final written argument.
Yes, and then, so I guess, is that person here and would they like to leave the record open? No. And then the applicant does have the option as well to submit final written arguments within 7 days after the record is closed. However, you may waive that. So would.
Well, thank you. So there's no need for a rebuttal then, either. Okay, so we'll move into deliberations here.
Given the site constraints, I believe that the way you added the square footage underneath the deck was was smart, and you did look at, the different options of how you could place the garage, and I do believe that what's proposed is the best option, and yeah, I feel like there's no complaints. It was a beautiful presentation, so I would definitely approve.
No, I was just going to say, I think it's a very appropriate project. I appreciate the staff doing their normal, thorough, and critical review and their concurrence with this as consistent with our standards. I'm certainly going to be prepared to support this.
Well done.
I'll second that. It's a very clear staff report and recommendation, and I do believe with what Commissioner Mino, Vice Commissioner Mino has said, that given the site constraints, this is a very sensitively proposed solution, and I have no concerns.
Shall we make a motion to pass the?
Yep.
Well, before we do, I have to note that prior to the tentative decision, the applicant has an opportunity to raise objections if new conditions of approval are being proposed by the commission. Then I'm to ask the applicant, do you have any objections to this new condition? But there's no new condition present. So will someone please propose the motion?
I'll move approval of the proposal LU 26001, consistent with the recommendations of staff, period.
I second.
Thank you. The city, please.
Chair Lindstrom,
Aye.
Vice Chair Mino,
Yes.
Commissioner Salinka,
Aye.
Commissioner Leek,
Yes.
Commissioner Sangre,
Yes.
pass 5-0.
Thank you.
The motion has received a majority vote, so this is the tentative decision. And a final decision will be made upon the adoption of written findings.
And staff will be returning on March 2nd with those.
Thank you. So now I guess we can move on to item number 5 on the agenda, which would be schedule review and management update.
Thank you, Chair. Apologies for the little bit of technical difficulties with the hearing procedures. I think this is a first for a continued hearing with written testimony only, and then this one was also interesting that there wasn't any public testimony at all. So talking to Attorney Miller just now, when we have scenarios like this second hearing where we don't have any public testimony, we can use common sense and skip over some of the, does anyone wish to continue this hearing, blah, 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 all of those that have to come up. I think we should take that on a case-by-case basis, and we do have the code proceedings to follow, so I'll leave that up to the chair and Attorney Miller and myself we can work that out at each one, but apologies for that to begin with. As far as management updates, yes, we will be returning March 2nd with the 2 sets of findings for the hearings tonight. On March 2nd, we're also going to have a public hearing for the new Forest Hills Elementary School up there in First Edition neighborhood. That is a development review permit and a conditional use permit modification. And then I also wanted to remind the commission that you have that joint Planning Commission and DRC meeting for the tree code amendments, and that's on April 13th. And other than that, I don't have any other applications that are even tentatively scheduled for hearing. So happy to answer any questions or talk about anything else the commission.
Where's our council review?
So this is actually the second meeting of the month. So with our new council liaison, just once a month, the first meeting of the month. So when I talked to Councilor Afghan, I did say if it was a while in between hearings, and the hearing happened to fall the second meeting of the month, he was welcome to attend. So I think he's open to examining that schedule. But yes, he will be attending on March 2nd.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much.
Okay. On to item number 6. I want to say thank you, everybody, for staff for your report and your patience with my bumbling words here this evening. I was a little off track, but we pulled it together at the end, right? So I adjourn this meeting. Thank you.